where Allah Ta'ala had ordained that Islam different from every other deen which had come before Islam. This was a deen which was going to be ghalib in all aspects, overpowering. It was going to be overpowering in the aspect of spirituality. And that is why in the entire world, whoever goes searching for some spiritual power, he will never find anything. They might say that I tried this, I tried something with the Chinese, I tried something with the Japanese. Every time there will be a new exercise, they will be finding something on Google. That person is looking for something that I can concentrate, I can meditate, I can come out of my problems. Around the world a person will go, but you will never find something like Quran. You will never find something like the Kaaba. There is nothing like Makkah, Mukarramah, Medina, Munawwara in the world. In spirituality, Allah Ta'ala left it with Islam. Al-Aqsa left with Islam. The lands of spirituality was the lands of Islam. لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ لِيُظْهِرَهُ Allah Ta'ala wanted Islam to be now ghalib, not only spiritual, but in the aspect of what is called power. Allah's Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he came with the sword. His every call was that a day will come where this Islam is going to enter everywhere. Whether the people are happy for it coming, not happy for it coming, it's going to go. He would in his own time say, I saw Sham. At that time Sham was the Roman Empire, mighty Roman. He said, I saw Persia, what we today call Iraq and Iran, mighty Persian Empire. He said, Egypt, soon you will conquer Egypt. He spoke about lands at the time where the people of Makkah Mukarramah were not rulers even over their own land. Because Islam was coming to conquer hearts and minds. It was going to go into lands and make the lands, the people of the land, subservient to the deen of Allah. Me and you grew up in an era, in this last 100 years, where we found a time where Islam was maghloob. Meaning in the physical aspect it was under. And the flag of Islam was not high as it was always for the last 1,300 years. Because we grew up in it, some people started thinking it was always like this. Whereas the reality is, there was a time where a Khalif of Islam could write to a non-Muslim country. And on that one letter, laws would be changed immediately. No one dared. But there was a time of 100 years which many things changed. Allah's Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam always spoke about that Allah has kept in this deen different from previous. In previous, when the change was brought by the devil, there was going to be no one to reverse it unless another Nabi would come. And again he would start telling the people, what are you doing? Allah's Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, in my ummah, Almighty Allah will continue sending. If some change happens, you must know in 100 years' time there will be people who will change it back. Wherever a change takes place in 100 years, there's a reverse. If the Khilafah in Turkey, the Ottoman Empire fell in 1920 around, then by 2020 if you visit Istanbul, you will find Islam, which in between there was no hope of Islam. So a Khilafah collapses, they take over the entire, they change the laws, they ban the adhan, they take out the burqa, they stop people from the masjid, they establish alcohol, and they say the change has taken place which will never be reversed. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, within 100 years you will see the reverse happening. Islam, had that reverse not been taking place, there was a time when the Crusaders entered the lands of Sham. At that time, even the Masjid of Sham were turned into stables. People who looked at those stables could never think a time will come where there will be no Christian power in Sham, it will be only Islam again. But within 90 years, the entire reverse. It is only the miracle of Islam. There was the biggest attack in history which was known as the Mongolian Tatar attack. That went through, the Western world was so scared of the Mongolians that although the Mongolians were not on the route towards what at that time what we call United Kingdom Britain, just on the name of the Mongolians, the British, they stopped their ships even coming in those areas. Everyone was scared of them. But the target of the Mongolians was Islam. And they went like wild animals for Islam. As they butchered through Islam, there was no one who dared. It was a time where even if there were 30 people in front, they just lost courage. Sentence in the Muslim world at that time was, whatever someone will say to you, you can believe him. But if they say to you the Mongolian has been defeated, you'll never believe him. It was like, you can't defeat these Mongols. You can't defeat. But Islam is something called undefeated. A great scholar of Islam, Moulana Abul Hasan al-Nadwi rahimullah says, when I turned the pages regarding the Mongolian attack on Islam, he said the one thing that amazed me was the reverse of Islam. That from point zero, how did Islam reverse in such a manner that many of those Mongols had to become Muslim after? That it even made the enemy into its people. Even made. He said a nation who hated Islam became diehards for Islam. He said that amazed me. And he said the second thing that amazed me is it was such a revolution that took place. The entire Mongolian empire collapsed. And it was only Islam. They were all Muslim. What a revolution. He says, but in the books of history, we're not picking up a name of which individuals were behind that revolution. Like in the conquest of Al-Aqsa, we'll pick up the name Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. But in the Mongolian issue, there was 1-2 incidents that you'll hear this sheikh did something, that sheikh did something. One of the shuyukh at that time, he met a Mongolian prince. He met him in the wrong place, meaning he came into his territory. The Mongolian prince was very upset. And for them, you see a Muslim, you kill a Muslim. He said, you know who land this is? This is my hunting land. What are you doing here? And what is the sheikh going to say? So then the Mongolian prince, like how they would talk, they said, who's better, you or my dog? They would talk like that. He had his dogs, hunting dogs. Allah Ta'ala inspired him, he looked at him and he said, it depends. That was the sentence. And then anger, the prince asked, depends on what? He said, depends how I die. He said, if I die with what's within my heart, then I can tell you I'll be better than your dog. But if this is in my heart comes out before I die, your dog is better than me. The way he said it without the fear of being executed, because they would just execute. So the Mongolian prince asked him, what's this in your heart? And he gave a very small answer about Iman. And that man was so amazed that after a while he told him that, you know, I'm a prince. We can't discuss this now. But if ever you hear one day I have sat on the throne, then you come back again, we'll talk about it. And the sheikh before passing away calls his son. And he says, I don't think I will find that era. But that man made a promise. The day he becomes king, I want you to go to him and remind him of me. That's written in history, that one issue. And the father passes away, the boy waits, he hears of the ascension of this prince. It's a very long way that he finally manages, he starts giving the adhan early in the morning until he irritates the prince, the king now. He says, who's that madman? And he brings him in. And then he sits and he says that I have just brought the salam of so and so. He said, who's this? He said, it was a meeting you had once upon a time. And in that day, the man calls his courtiers, his ministers, the king. He says to his ministers, I'm thinking of accepting this faith called Islam. And the minister says to him, Sire, I already accepted it. But in the fear of you, I could not tell you. He says, what? He calls another minister. He says, Sire, I already accepted this. Minister after minister is questioning. He said, we already accepted it. He says, what broke through those people? One was the king where the sheikh broke through. He's written in history. What made all those ministers also fall to Islam? He says, there's no name in history. It is the miracle where Allah's Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the reverse will take place whether you know who made the reverse or you don't know. We saw a period of 100 years where Islam's flag came to the ground. Already in 2022, if you go to Istanbul, you will see a revolution of Islam. At the moment now with what's happening in the land of Gaza, I am seeing that revolution all around even. All around. In Muslim and non-Muslim lands. A time will come where people will read the books of history and they will say, but who made this revolution? And again you will find no name. A friend from the UK sends a message. He says, the Imam of one masjid says, at the present moment, every day someone is accepting Islam. From the 10 people who accept, 9 of them are saying, what made me accept Islam is what's happening at the moment in Gaza. No one went to the person. No one went. Someone said statistic yesterday, Saudi Arabia, this year so many accepted Islam, this year so many accepted, small numbers, although it's the land of Islam, Hijaz. Then they say in this year, and that number goes like times 10 of the previous amounts. People are just entering. When they will look later on who brought Islam to them, they'll say these people now came to Islam. A friend went to what is called Venezuela. He said there in the centers every day people are accepting. But he gives an example. He says we landed at the airport. We needed, because it was a group going to the center, 4 taxis were needed. He says in the taxi I'm talking to the driver, telling him about Islam. Before we reached, he accepted. He said I was so happy, I jumped out, I told him my driver accepted. The man in the second taxi said mine also accepted, third accepted, fourth accepted. He said in one journey 4. He said I was there the other day, he's telling me, and 50 people come together, 50. He said when we sent people once upon a time there to South America, it was to worry about the Arab descent. And then there was people from Pakistan and Bangladesh. So he said we would teach in Urdu, or we would teach like what we will say, that little Arab, but they don't know Arabic, so you have to just speak Urdu. He says at the moment the Spanish are accepting Islam so much that in our center now we're only talking Spanish. He said it's not someone from another country, it's them now. They're the ones just walking. Day by day we're going to see a revolution. A scholar of the past mentioned that when Allah Ta'ala writes the decisions of guidance of mankind, for that door to open, Moulana Umar Paranpuri rahimullah was the lisan of dawah and tabligh, the tongue of tabligh. In the past, whoever had taken part in the activity of dawah and tabligh would have known this, that in every after Fajr it was him speaking, and he would speak for hours. It was his sentence that for a very huge door of hidayah to open, there is a certain amount of tears and a certain amount of blood that Allah Ta'ala keeps. And when that level of tears and blood reaches there, that door goes open. In the last, what we call 100 days, perhaps we never gave those tears and blood, but someone has given it. And they have given it in such a manner that after 100 days, if you have to enter the land of the people bombing, you will find those people not sleeping. And the people being bombed, you will find them still smiling. And you will wonder, this is not possible. It is not possible. But when Allah, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that Islam is not like anything before, that it will become zahir over all adyan, لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ. We are seeing that revolution. When you will look at the happenings of the next few days, few months, you must grow with the azmat of Islam. That we have been blessed with a religion that no matter what power pushes it down, it only comes up. What power? 20 years of American occupation in the land of Afghanistan. After 20 years, if you get a chance and you visit that land, you only see Islam. You will wonder what happened in the 20 years like. What you managed to achieve, the opposite. The entire opposite of what you were looking for. You created a nation of Islam. It is the miracle that when Islam is pushed down, it only comes up. May yujaddidu hadha ad-din. Allah will continue bringing man. That man means who. That word who was so unique, like who. The one who. Who means who? No one. It will be you, it will be you, it will be you, it will be everyone. Allah will give people shares in this gift that you will also be used to create this revolution. Man. Man means the one. It is not a selected individual, it's one. It's an unknown person. The one started a madrasa. He was part of the revolution. One started, he had a thought, we have to worry of the children. He was part of the revolution. Another one said there has to be orphans looked after. He became part of the revolution. Allah inspires people. It was the alim, it was the non-alim. When Afghanistan was taken over by America, that was 20 years ago. 20 years later, people who were at that time like small children in Afghanistan, so the older leaders, what we will call like Mullah Muhammad Umar, if whoever knows those names, their children. So their children at that time would have been young, 20 years ago. And they had to be hiding because if America had to catch them, then they understand so and so son. So those people had no money, they had no support, they had no help. Allah Ta'ala inspired people from out of that country. Out of that country. Sometimes even people from this country. That one inspiration went to them that forget the war, because I can't do anything in this war. What about the child? So they see the child of an Islamic leader who got no shoes. And they say, we can't leave this man's child without shoes. So let's take that man, and they take that man and they say, let's put him in a madrasa in another country. That person will go to a madrasa in another country, he'll graduate, he'll find the time where Islam has taken over Afghanistan. He'll come back into Afghanistan, now he'll be made like the minister, very high minister. One day when someone will ask like, who was behind you reaching where you reached? He will say it was one individual of another country. Might be even this country, South Africa. This inspiration which comes from Allah, man, it goes everywhere. What I will end on this year is that Allah has kept a share in this Masjid-ud-Duha hadha deen. Who will create a revolution in this deen? He gave that share open. It's an open market. It is not for one individual. It is not for a known Jamaat. It is not for a great scholar. It is open. That one who will take this inspiration and say, I also must do something. That something will become part of the great puzzle of the revolution of Islam. Where they will say today, we don't know who made the one minister of the Mongol Muslim. We don't know. A day will come, we will say, we don't know who did this. We don't know who did this, when the whole puzzle was made. It's say, amazing, what a revolution took place. We have now entered that day. So you, me, our dua to Allah will be, let this hand be used in the preservation and the lifting of the flag of Islam. How it will be used, I'm not a scholar. But when Allah Ta'ala said, man, the one, it never needed. It just needed that aspiration from the heart and that inspiration from the Creator. You go forward one leg, you will see Allah coming forward. No one must sit back and he says, this is not my work. It is an honor to be part. Man ansari ilallah. At the end of surah, Allah Ta'ala says, when Isa alayhi salam said to his people, who will now help me towards Allah? He said, Nahnu ansarullah. We're ready. We're ready. Surah ended on that day to say that there were people in the past who were ready. How can we not be ready? Everyone must say, I am ready to be part of the helpers of the deen of Almighty Allah. And aspiration and then inspiration. Wherever Allah Ta'ala then inspires your heart, whether it is with the hand, whether it is with the tongue, whether it is with the heart in dua, whether it is with health, whether it is with wealth, whether it was time, people will have to unite and work, because the revolution is taking place and the flag is going up. It is just one man says, can I also lift that flag? Mubarak to the individual, for Almighty Allah will allow him the chance that he can also lift up that flag very, very high in Islam. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah.